Hey, Dr. Mike here. If you want to live forever-ish, you have to know what's in and what's not. Stay tuned to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Forever-ish. Dr. Crystal, our favorite in and out of living forever-ish. Increased health span.
That's right. And it seems to be a fan favorite show. We're getting a lot of feedback. And so just comment if there are other studies that you want us to kind of dig into, because this is where we go over the latest and greatest.
The latest and greatest for living forever, strong, long, and vibrant. All right, let's get into the 3 N's, right? These are the things you want to do or you want to have, et cetera, et cetera. So number 1 is NAC or NAC for pain management. NAC is N-acetylcysteine. We know it's a powerful antioxidant. It's the precursor to glutathione. But Dr. Crystal, what does it have to do with pain?
Yeah, so we do. First, I want to clarify, we're going to highlight a pilot trial, but I think the results are fascinating because it's related to administering, or in the study, the researchers administered NAC during surgery. Intraoperative doses of NAC. And the idea was to see how that administration of the NAC relates to pain, use of opioids after the surgery. We know there is a big opioid epidemic that is sweeping our nation, sweeping the world. And so if you can decrease an individual's reliance on that medication after surgery, we know it's needed. But that can maybe decrease those chances that a person will kind of develop problems associated with those opioids.
Yeah, to me, this is classic integrative medicine, isn't it? It's using something from nature to complement something on the conventional side, so that maybe you don't have to rely so much on that more powerful drug, less of a dose, less of a time frame, what have you. So this is fantastic. So these patients were, I think there were 30 of them, right? 30 of them randomized to the NAC. They were in the surgical suite, and they were given 150 milligrams per kilogram of NAC. Now that's a lot, right? Don't we consider that a lot of NAC?
Well, 150 per kilogram, yes. I mean, you won't find your typical amount that you'll find that you can take over the counter is about 600 milligrams, but you could take that up to 3 times a day.
Up to 3 or 4 times.
1,200, 1,800 milligrams. So yes, compared to 150 per kilogram.
It's a big dose. It is a
higher dose.
Definitely a higher dose. So they go through the surgery. So some of them, the 30 of them get the NAC. The others don't get it. They come out. And so what was the result? What happened with the amount of opioids, for instance?
Well, the NAC subjects reported lower pain scores. That's number 1. That's great to come out of surgery and you have lower pain scores compared to the placebo group. Patients that were given NAC took longer to request pain medication after surgery and received 16 to 22% less opioids in the first 2 days after surgery compared with those that were given the placebo.
Yeah. And then it looks like overall opioid use was dropped by about 22 to 24% at all times, like throughout.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, again, at the end of the day, opioids play a role in pain management after a surgery. So it's not about not doing them. It's about maybe managing it a little bit better. Less of them, less of a dose, that type of thing. So this is fantastic research.
Yeah. So, if you can find an integrative physician that can incorporate this, NAC is something that is available. But when we talk about the application, now we can't make any promises, but if you're not taking NAC, maybe it's something that you would want to consider leading up.
Talk to your doctor about it. I take NAC simply every day for glutathione support.
Oh.
Now, I'm not doing 150 milligrams per kilogram, but I do. I think I do 1,200 a day.
Okay.
600. And I just think that supporting glutathione is so important just overall for liver health.
Good for liver health, good for immune health, good for bone and joints.
Lots of things.
So many things.
All right, let's go to number 2. This is CoQ10 improves early recovery from a heart attack. I'd love to see when my favorite foundational nutrients are producing headlines like this.
Yeah.
This is good. CoQ10, foundational nutrient for energy production, strong antioxidant. And in this study, they believe maybe a strong anti-inflammatory as well.
Right. That's the proposed mechanism of action in this study. This is the results, what we're highlighting, the results of an analysis of a clinical trial that revealed a benefit for CoQ10 with standard treatment during early recovery from heart attack in comparison with standard treatment alone. There were 120 heart attack patients who underwent stent placement, and they were treated with, the standard of care, antiplatelets, statin drugs. 61 of those 120 received 30 milligrams of CoQ10 per day. So that's not a high dose.
Big dose. That's not a big
not
dose.
A big dose. Yeah. And I looked at the study, and it looks like it was just ubiquinone CoQ10.
Oh, okay. I mean, again, so this is okay. I'm going to give you my opinion real quick. I think at a higher dose with ubiquinol, they would have better results. Just say it. I mean, they're using kind of the old-fashioned form of CoQ10, and they're using a dose that's pretty low. But even with that, we have good results.
We do. At 1 and 3 month follow-up examinations, trial participants who were given CoQ10 had greater increases in ejection fraction than the control group.
Yeah. People post MI, post heart attack. One of the concerns is heart failure and managing that, keeping the heart not just fresh of oxygen, but keeping it pumping good.
Yes.
Right. And so they also measure something called BNP, which is this compound that the higher it is, the more your heart is struggling. That's a good way to think of it. And it turns out the CoQ10 group here had lower levels of the BNP, right?
Well, yes, at 3 months, that BNP had declined to a greater extent among those that received that CoQ10.
Fantastic.
So, all of this is looking like, hey, the CoQ10 is doing something here.
For sure. I would love to see this repeated with higher dose in ubiquinol. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Higher dose, ubiquinol. But it's great to see that the CoQ10 is having that anti-inflammatory effect, potentially. We also know that CoQ10 is an antioxidant. We also know that CoQ10 is needed for the mitochondria to work, to function. And when we talk about the pumping of the heart that's a big muscle filled with mitochondria, we know that CoQ10 can be supportive. One other thing to note is the researchers did test in a subgroup the CoQ10, and those who were dealing with the heart issues, their CoQ10 levels were low. Yeah. Now, whether or not this 30, we know the 30 milligrams per day, just from my personal experience with suggesting the CoQ10, not quite the amount that can increase those levels of CoQ10,
especially the ubiquinone form too.
Exactly. But we just see that it is supportive.
Yep. Ubiquinol 100 milligrams a day is a good dose, just in case you're wondering. Okay, let's go to number 3, branched chain amino acids and concussion. Now, this is interesting, right? Because normally we talk about branched chain amino acids and muscle stuff, right? Muscle recovery, muscle building, all that kind of stuff. But here it's when you hit your noggin.
That's right. And we've discussed this study in the past. I can't remember. But one of our other kind of ins and outs. In the past, we discussed branched chain amino acid, and we continue to see this. This was a study published April 2024 in the Journal of Neurotrauma. And, again, that the goal of this study was to see if the branched chain amino acids, which we know have a neuroprotective, restorative effect, if it can be supportive for concussion recovery.
And it looks like it was at the end of the day, right? It's good.
Yes. And the other goal for the researchers in this study, just to highlight, they wanted to see if it was the different doses were tolerable, if they were safe, if they worked. So there were, with this study, they kind of looked at different doses, and overall, there were no serious adverse events. The doses range from 15, 30, 45, or 54 grams or placebo daily for 21 days. And the participants saw benefits, a decrease in those concussion symptoms in a dose-dependent manner. And you don't always see this with research where, sometimes more is not always better.
Yeah, no, it's actually good to see studies where they're using some different dosing so you can figure out what's that optimal dose. Because you don't want to just throw a whole bunch of something at somebody, because if it doesn't work, all you're doing is getting more side effects and stuff, right? So you want to really know where's that peak efficacy. Lowest side effects, highest result.
Yes,
is what you're looking for. It does look like here that and correct me if I'm wrong, are they saying that the branched chain amino acids, they bypass the liver? That's why they're so powerful, right? They bypass the liver. And because they bypass, they're not metabolized as much. They get into the brain and they're really able to become a nitrogen donor. And they give nitrogen to glutamate synthesis, which is an important excitatory neurotransmitter in repair.
There you have it.
Right? That's what they're proposing.
That's what the researchers are proposing when we look at mechanisms of action. Yes.
Yeah. Glutamate's an interesting neurotransmitter. A lot of our audience listeners maybe know a little bit about it. Generally speaking, glutamate is one you want to keep kind of lower as you get older because it causes too much excitatory stuff in the brain, and that's been linked to problems. But when repair is needed, you want that to bump up, and that's what this is. Yeah. Woo! I like it. Another good one for one of our because we talk about BCAAs a lot.
Yes. I mean, when we think about sarcopenia and we know those branched chain amino acids are essential. We tend to highlight leucine, but they're all beneficial and needed.
Men and women over the age of 70 all should be taking BCAAs or BCAs. I usually just say BCAs.
Oh.
I leave the other A out. It just doesn't sound as good. All right. So those are the 3 ins for living foreverish. What's the out? In this case, it's Alzheimer's disease, which is, listen, that's a no-brainer. One of the things, and this is interesting, Dr. Crystal, you and I, when we talk about living forever-ish, we often talk about the muscle side of things, the energy side of things, being able to always lift yourself up out of a seated position. What we don't always talk about is your brain.
Well, I guess so. I'm just thinking about our kind of intros to this show. We don't often talk about your brain. We've had some individual shows on brain health, the mind diet, and general memory.
I'm not saying
you're right.
We've talked about brain. I'm just saying when we define living forever-ish, we need to add brain into that.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to have your wits about you as you get older so that you can travel.
And remember that and remember it.
Right.
So tell us about what's going on. Why are we talking about Alzheimer's disease today and it's an out?
I'm sure those of you who are listening, you probably have seen the headlines. This has been on major news networks. The world is excited about it. I don't know if they're as excited about it as we are in the Gossard home, but it's a study published in Alzheimer's Research and Therapy in June 2024. And it's the effects of intensive lifestyle changes on the progression of mild cognitive impairment or early dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. This is a randomized controlled clinical trial. So, you may have seen it on the news. I figured we could just highlight some of the features in this study because it's a positive study for nutritional add-ins, for a multimodal approach. I think there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from this study that you cannot just try one strategy and think that's going to be the end all.
And the participants in this study got a book too. The authors,
they did. I mean, there were
a book out of it.
They got a book. They had another kind of little journal guide. There were so many aspects of this lifestyle program, and the program has been used for cardiovascular diseases. Well. And so now they're kind of switching it over to brain health to see if it also improves brain health.
So as a nutritionist, because I knew this is standing out to you as a nutritionist, right? What are you mainly pulling from this? Like, what's the main, like, 2 or 3 things that you're like, we gotta really get this message out?
I can't say they were just, you mean like out of the lifestyle?
Yeah, out of the food, lifestyle.
Oh, stuff. Dr. Mike, you're putting my back against the wall because I think there is not, I feel like for the outcomes, to get the best outcome, it's a lifestyle modification. Now, we can talk about the food. It was a whole food, plant-based diet. But I don't think that's, if you don't fix trauma, because there is therapy a part of this. Yeah. You can eat your whole food, plant-based diet, but if you're still dealing with trauma, especially when we're talking about neurological disease, then I don't think it's going to give you the benefits that you're looking for. So I can't do it. Okay, the exercise, there was an exercise physiologist, Dr. Mike, stress management. I mentioned the group therapy. There were so many components involved, and I think
it's hard
this is what people need.
Yeah. So I look at this, and one of the things that caught my attention were the supplements, the nutrients that they were taking. So we have the omega-3s. Woohoo! Fantastic, right? Although when you look at the amount they were taking on average, you and I probably consider a little low. I always say 2 to 4 grams. Your always are like 4 grams of omega oils, right? Something like that. They were a little less than that. But anyways, curcumin was there. Woohoo! CoQ10.
There you go. Big doses. So let's go back to that curcumin. That's a big dose of curcumin.
800 is a lot. Most people do what? 400?
Right.
Yeah.
400 or 500. 200 milligrams of CoQ10.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm excited?
I love it. I'll be honest with you. I told you this, and I've told people on this show, I do 200 milligrams of CoQ10 every day.
I upped mine recently to 200.
Yeah.
By the way.
I think that's you told me to up my omegas, and I did, and you're upping your CoQ10 following mine. So there you go. Vitamin C, a good dose. All B12. Oh, magnesium, L-threonate was on the list. That's that brain magnesium, if you will. Lion's mane. We haven't really talked about that before, but that's a mushroom, right?
Yes.
Lion's mane. And then, of course, probiotic, multivitamins, all there. So I like the supplement use.
I like it all. Now, I would have to say in this study, the stress relief, I think, was that they didn't have to cook. The researchers provided the meals.
That helps.
That helps a whole lot.
Listen, one of my greatest
the meals for the subjects and the subject's partner or spouse.
Listen. One of the greatest struggles I have as an adult that no one told me about was what I'm going to make for dinner every night for the rest of my life. I mean, it's so hard.
Well,
It's so hard.
imagine you have to feed a family.
I know. I know. So remember though, we are on the out of living forever,
Right.
and the out is Alzheimer's.
Right.
Let me say it this way. You know what's out is not getting enough exercise and stress management. What's out is not getting therapy that you may need for past traumas and stuff. What's out is not eating those processed foods and stuff like that. What's out is not getting enough of those prime nutrients like the CoQ10, the curcumin, Zoe. So how about I say it that way?
I love that.
Those are the outs. You got to get enough of that stuff.
That's right. And what's out is not supporting your brain.
It's part of living forever-ish, Dr. Crystal.
Uh-huh.
Great show. Once again, the ins and outs of living forever-ish. Don't forget, you can go to liveforeverish.com and tons of other episodes for you to like, download, share, and of course, subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts at, subscribe so you never miss a show. You can also see it at liveforeverish.com. And then our sponsor, Life Extension, wants to say thank you. Head over to lifeextension.com, shop around. When you check out, use the discount code, Dr. Crystal.
Podcast.
That's not how you say it. It's supposed to be podcast. And put that in. You'll get 10% off, $50 more plus free shipping and handling. I'm Dr. Mike. I'm
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.
Right way.